Okay, so we're gonna do hamstring partner stretch now. As I talked about in the presentation, the first part you need to do is an accurate pretest. So for hamstring, the trick is you need to make sure you use the thigh as a reference point every time. So we're gonna bring them right up to 90 degrees. This is too short, that's too far. When you start to move, you see his pelvis starts to rotate. So start him at the 90-degree mark. From there, you start to lift the leg until you feel first resistance, when it just starts to fight against you. That's our pretest. So I can show Lucas, okay, see how high your leg is. Do you feel any stretch right here?
No.
No.
At the right of the border.
And they won't feel a stretch at that first resistance. If you go to second resistance, they'll start to feel a stretch. Where do you feel that?
Right here.
Perfect. So you're looking for location of stretch, which is right here, and intensity of stretch. How hard is it stretching?
5 out of 10 maybe.
Okay, great. So that's our pretest. The important thing is after we do our actual partner stretch, we're gonna retest him and see if that changed, okay? Next, before we go right into stretching, there's an important concept that maybe the tissue's just tight. So what we're gonna do is use a lacrosse ball and prime the soft tissue with the lacrosse ball to see if that helps. Without even stretching him, can we improve his range of motion? So go ahead and sit up and face this way. Throw this lacrosse ball right under your hamstring. And here's what I'd like you to do. Roll around on it a little bit and see if you can find a spot that's particularly tight or sore. Once you find one, stop there. Put this hand on top of your thigh and then very gently straighten out your leg. This is called a tack and stretch. So you're putting pressure with your hand on that ball and you're just slowly working that leg. In this case, what we're doing is trying to loosen up the tissue. It's not a stretch. We're just inhibiting tight tissue. Let's do maybe 10 of those.
That feels good.
Good. Now lay back down. In a real client scenario, you might have them find 2 or 3 or 4 spots. If it's particularly tight, you can seek and destroy. Find areas that are tight and work those out. Afterwards, you have a new pretest. So you want to see by inhibiting that tissue, does that change the length? So first thing I'm going to do is go to first resistance. There's first resistance for me, which if we remember from last time, hopefully the video shows that's a little bit higher, maybe 5 degrees better. Now second resistance is here. Where do you feel it?
A little bit in here, but not as much as I did before.
Okay, so a little bit different location and a little bit less intensity. And you can see the range is quite a bit higher as well. So that's priming the tissue. So as a partner stretch, just by doing a good pretest and priming the tissue, we've already gained range of motion without even stretching them. Let's say there's somebody who it is still tight for, you've primed the tissue well. One thing we can play with here, when you get their leg into this position, there's a few things that could be causing that tightness. It could be that the hamstring itself is short, or it could be that the hamstring is protecting the sciatic nerve, which runs right through this same area. So if you're in a position where you're starting to stretch them and they feel it right behind the knee, or they even feel it in their calf or into their ankle, what we can add is a little bit of an ankle pump. So I want you to pump your ankle up and down. What you should see is if it is sciatic nerve that's causing the primary tightness, when they pull their ankle back, the tightness should get worse. When they point the ankle down, the tightness should get less. A little more tight, a little less tight. Do not stretch hard into this. You should just get a little bit of a stretch behind the knee, and then it should go away. Is that what you're feeling?
Yeah, I
Good.
was feeling a little bit on my ankle, but that actually helped.
Good. So you just work it back and forth. So a typical partner stretch, you just hang there and hold. This time we're adding an ankle pump to make it a little more inclusive of the other tissue. Next thing we should think about is something called a contract relax. So a typical partner stretch, again, you're just kind of hanging there as long as they can tolerate it. In this scenario, you actually get your shoulder in and behind the ankle and have them press either their leg into a hamstring curl. So go ahead and curl your hamstring. Hold, hold, hold. Now relax. So they're gonna do a sustained hold somewhere between 5 and 10 seconds. And then you take up the new slack into their new range of motion. Hang there for a little bit, and then once again, have them press, hold, 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 hold. Give them a break, and then take up whatever new slack they have. So that's one thing you can do for the hamstring. The other is they can press their whole leg against your shoulder like they're doing a hip extension. So go ahead and press your whole leg, hold, 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 and then relax. And then you can take up new slack that way. So contract, relax is another way to gain motion. After having done the ankle pump or the contract, relax, you're gonna do a retest again. Figure out what your first resistance is. There we go, first resistance, so quite a bit better in a very short amount of time. And then second resistance, how are you feeling? Where do you feel that stretch?
Anything I feel a little like burning on the side there, but my hamstring is good.
Okay, hamstring is good. The burning on the side of the ankle is, again, it's a branch of sciatic nerves. It wraps around the outside of his calf, which we could work on differently. Okay, now here's a really important concept, and that is sketchy means sketchy. If you're going into this stretch and he says, oh, my foot's tingling, or I feel numb, or you see their skin changing color or something like that, that's sketchy. We don't want to push into that. Just about everything else as we go, if you've got a good tissue stretch here, if you do the ankle pump the way we suggested, should be great. We make a lot of gains in a short period of time. A little bit different approach to partner stretching.
Great.
It's a long video, so we may